Okay, welcome to Meet the Author, and today our guest is Arthur Johnson, Minister Arthur Johnson, and he has been through the fires and came out all polished.
Thank you.
Thanks to
That's
God.
one way of putting it.
Polished. And he's written 3 books, and he came to share these books with us. His newest one, A Room Without a Door, and the first one, Crackhead, The Diary of a Lost Soul. And then the next one, Look What the Lord Has Done, and his personal testimony as to what God has done in his life. So we welcome you, Arthur.
Thank you. I'm really thankful for being here. I thank God for being able to come here on your show.
Oh, and then we thank God for having you and the opportunity for the community, the Milwaukee community, to hear your testimony and to learn about your books.
Thank you so much.
And how that all came about. So which book do you want to start with telling us about?
Well, I have to start with the beginning. I just like to say thank God, because He is truly the head of my life. I thank God for Ms. Keith for allowing me to come on here, and the Milwaukee Writers Circle for allowing me this time. My first book is Crackhead, The Diary of a Lost Soul. And the importance of the title is because I lived this type of lifestyle. And I wrote this book not intending to really write a novel. I just started putting things down on paper that have been going on in my life. I'm originally from New York City. I had moved to Chicago, and I had gotten saved. And I was living in a church, homeless shelter in a church. They had a computer in the basement nobody was using. So I have a little computer background, and I knew how to use Microsoft Word and things of that sort, and I just started typing, getting things off my chest. I wanted to put down how miserable I was in my past.
Oh, okay.
I used all of that misery as a subject in this book. And the Diary of the Lost Soul is because I was truly lost. I was lost. I mean, I didn't
That was when you were in Chicago?
I was in Chicago. I was lost. I had never been to Chicago, didn't have any family or friends. I left New York, and I bought a one-way ticket. I left New York, moved to Chicago, because my life was so messed up. I was so disgusted with myself and the life that I was living. So I was homeless, and I lived in this church, and I started writing this story. And I just sort of cleansed myself by putting this down on paper. I call it just getting it out of myself and onto the paper. You know,
writing can be very therapeutic.
Yes, it is.
And cleansing.
Yes,
and
it is.
Healing. Yeah, to release it, look at it, release it, let it go.
That's
let
right.
God.
That's right. So it to me was therapy, and I just created a fictional character. A character. When I lived in New York, I had a nickname. I played basketball, and they called me Sundance.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. It just happened, and they in the parks used to call me Sundance. So my character is Sundance Johnson.
Okay.
And he had to experience, even though he's fictional, he had to experience the misery that I saw. I saw a lot of bad things going on, and I wrote about it.
Okay.
This book is not for children. It's very, very raw. The language is very raw. There's adult situations throughout the book. It is the type of book that will open your eyes if you've ever been in any type of addiction. Whether it's alcohol, drugs, it could be a food addiction, it could be addiction to other people. We know that through addictions, we get caught in a vicious cycle and we can't seem to break out of it. We keep going back to it over and over and over. And the same thing happens with if anyone has ever been addicted to anything, you know that you can't seem to get away from it. And that's the type of story that Sundance goes through. It is a short story, but it shows you how vicious the cycle can be, and how you don't have any support system, and how people look at you on the outside. So I just put it all in there. It's like I said, it's very raw.
So what happened, Arthur, to make you leave your home in New York, the Bronx, and get a one-way ticket?
I was addicted to drugs, number one. I couldn't hold a job. I couldn't hold a job because of my addiction. And I was so ashamed of how I was living my life. I just couldn't live with myself.
Okay.
It was hard. It was so hard. And I bought a one-way ticket. That's how serious I was about leaving. I knew that I had to go. One day, I told my brother, I had one living brother. Well, I only had one brother. I shouldn't say living. Well, I only had one brother. And he told me, I told him that I was leaving, and he asked me, where was I going? And I told him, I don't know, but I know I'm going. God was pulling at me and was tugging at my heart. I didn't understand it, but I had this feeling inside that I needed to leave. And I listened to that. I went along with that voice, and I left. So that's how I wound up homeless in Chicago, because I didn't have any clue, no family. I didn't know what Chicago was about. And I wound up at a shelter, and I lived there for about 4 months, and then I lived in a church. I lived in a church for a year and a half in Chicago during this whole time. And it was an eye-opening experience, and I got blessed during this experience.
Well, it reminds me of Moses in the wilderness. To me, it's something very similar. He went somewhere too where he wasn't familiar, didn't know, but
that's right.
Things worked out for him.
That's very true. I'm a minister, and there is a passage in the Bible where the angel told Abraham to leave your kinship and move from your family, and that's what he did. He left. He listened, and sometimes we need to listen. Because if I hadn't left during the time that I was going through all this misery, I'm pretty sure that I would not be sitting here today. I'm pretty sure of that. I mean, I don't know. Only God knows. But the way my life was going, it was just going really, really bad and down. So that's what brought about the story. That's how this first book came about. You know, this is truly a diary, but these are things that I saw. These are the things that I experienced in this book. You know, so I just wrote it, and I was happy when I actually had it all down. I didn't try to do anything with this book for about 2 years.
Really? You just held on
It
to
just sat.
it? It just sat. Okay.
I didn't try to publish it. I didn't try to let everybody know. It was just sitting on the shelf.
So when did you decide to publish it? What made you publish
I spend a lot of time reading. I like books, and I like reading. And I thought to myself, well, I have something. So maybe somebody else would be interested in what I put down. So that's how I came about, just curious. I was just curious that maybe somebody would be interested. And I started looking around at publishers. I got quite a few no's. People didn't want to even look at it without me having an agent. And I didn't have any money to hire an agent, for sure. And I sent it to a publisher, and they took it from there. They are my publisher, which I have a contract with. And the name of the company.
They did all three of the books?
They did all three of the books.
Okay.
Yeah, the name of the company is called PublishAmerica.com, and they published it. They help with the editing. They help with the design, formatting. They have to me, a very good company, and it just opened the door for me.
Okay.
You know, they're not a big name, but for me, they're great.
They're big for
Yeah,
you.
for me.
That's wonderful. So tell us about what's in this book. Look what the
This-
Lord has done.
This is my second book, and this is the book I'm most proud of because just the title alone tells you basically how grateful I am. You know, I mean, look what the Lord has done. I went from sleeping on subway trains in New York. I went from being homeless, sleeping in the parks in Chicago, sleeping in churches and shelters. And God has done so much for me. So this is a victorious story, but it's places that I have been. I put Sundance Johnson in these places.
Okay.
I placed him in these places. I didn't try to write an autobiography. And I placed him in these experiences that I have been through.
Okay.
And it's a story that is very vivid. It's really for all ages. I wouldn't suggest young children, but
Again, because of the language. And,
yeah,
okay.
because of the language. But it is a story that opens people's eyes. And I have been blessed that I still have family back in New York, and I have family in various places in the country, and people have responded very well to this second book.
So they read it?
They have read the book, and they have responded to it very well. And surprisingly, a lot of church people have responded to this book because everyone, I won't say everyone, but most of everyone was a sinner before they walked through those doors.
Right.
You know, not
We're out
everyone.
living in the world.
Right. I'm not going to say everybody was terrible before they went in the church because that's not true. But a lot of people came to the church with issues. And a lot of the church people have read in different parts of the country through my family's help, have read this book. And they have responded really, really well to it due to the fact that they have been in the same type of situations. You know, they have been in and out of rehabilitation. They have been in and out of jails. You know, they've been in and out of situations. And I don't want to give away the story, but there's a lot of ups and downs in the book. There are a lot of high points and a lot of misery, you know, because, I mean, that's life.
Right.
That's real life.
Well, thank you. And this wraps up Meet the Author for today. And we hope that you will come back and join us again. Thank you.